Hello, and welcome to Go Fund This, a podcast from Nerds Domain. In these episodes, we'll be talking to crowdfund project managers about their projects and what excites them. Come listen as we talk about the passion they have for their project.
All right, everybody, and welcome back to Go Fund This. I'm Matt, and I'm here with James Wylder.
I'm back. It's me.
Of Arc Beatle Press. This is a fancy press name.
Yeah.
I like it.
I know. I'm getting real here.
I always think Blue Beetle when I hear Arc Beetle for whatever reason, and that's the vision I have of it. And I know that's not at all what you had in mind, but so we're going to talk about, you got a Kickstarter up called James Wylder, The Short Stories.
Yes.
And I want to talk about that, but let's talk about your last Kickstarter you were on for, because I still have notes from when we did that. You were on for The Poor Man's Iliad, which was a bunch of short stories collaborated on by, was it like a dozen, 2 dozen?
16.
Writers? 16. So a bunch of writers got together and you put that out. How did that go? You guys funded.
Yeah, we funded it quite well. We got off the top of my head, I think about $1,800. So it went pretty good.
Right on. And is that officially out and everybody's got a hold of it?
Yes, yeah.
Excellent.
So we sent it out to backers. There's one reward we haven't fulfilled yet, just because we ran into trouble with the printers. There was these posters that people were supposed to get. We had it was going to be done with a set of printers, and they closed.
Oh.
And I'm trying to find either someone to do it for the same rate that was going to be done with that same quality.
Yeah.
Or just, I need to, just figure something out to get it done in the same way I'd planned to.
Sure.
So it's nearly been complete, but we're got one lingering thing, which that happens.
Yeah. Well, and it's like Kickstarter says at the bottom, what risks? And you're like, well, I've got this all covered unless something happens I have no idea about. And a printer closing will be that. That'll be the thing. So so you've been a writer for a while, and you've put out several things. #1 sellers on Amazon for
Time travel.
Yes, so for time travel. For your 10,000 Dawn book, you've got a poetry book from Doctor Who. You write kind of prolifically on your own Facebook when you're gearing up for stuff. I saw a bunch of poetry going up last week before last.
Yeah, I did Game of Thrones poems.
Yes, so which is a good lead up for what came out this past Sunday. So, you've been doing this for a while. You're also doing a podcast where. Tell us about Tales About the Blue Light, because I every time I know what it is, I forget.
So Tales About the Blue Light is sadly on hiatus right now, just because I've had some health issues.
Sure.
And that required a lot of travel and work from me. So I deal with a lot of chronic pain issues. And so I have a lot of other stuff I'm working on. So I decided that needs to just go on a break. But I'm hoping to get it back once I'm got my body a little more under control. It's a show where I write short stories, in speculative fiction, so fantasy, sci-fi, and horror.
Okay.
And I read them, and we do little sketches and that sort of thing. And it's a lot of fun when I'm able to do it.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a lead into what you're doing now with this short story. So So the goal for this was $600, which you have met officially. I think you're right at 100% right now.
Yeah, we're right on the nose.
But you want to do actually 3 books, and the $600 is for the first book for 10,000 Dawn's Sidewinders. That's your sci-fi section of it. You're also looking to do a fantasy and a horror, and that's all going to be set in the 10,000 Dawn's.
Just the first book.
Okay, so just the first book.
Yeah.
Or is there going to be a structure around the others to keep the short stories together in a similar theming? For fantasy, is it going to have its own 10,000 Dawns structure separate? You know what I'm saying?
No.
Okay.
So the sci-fi book is all 10,000 Dawn stories. It's all set in the same universe. The stories will feature a lot of characters that overlap and intertwine between them all. But the other 2 books they've got a lot more variety to them.
Okay.
So they feature a lot of things I've been working on People have really liked the horror short stories I've done for Tales by the Blue Light, especially.
Okay.
And so a lot of those are going to be in that book. And those stories, each one is, for the most part, there are a few that are like sequels to each other and that sort of thing. But for the most part, they're all their own individual thing that's trying to give you one reading experience for that story.
Okay.
And so you can jump around between a lot of different feels.
Excellent. So you have the sci-fi section, the first book, already funded. Let's talk about that a little bit. What do you see coming out from that? And actually, let's start with the cover art.
Yeah.
Tell us about your cover artist, because what you've got here looks phenomenal on the Kickstarter.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So Rain Gu is an artist I met at Philadelphia Comic Con years and years ago when I was just getting started touring and writing.
Yeah.
And she's done some comic book art and lettering. And we've just stayed good friends, but we never had the chance to work with each other on anything until Poor Man's Iliad, where she did some of the concept art for it. Okay. So she didn't do the cover art, but she did a few of the interior illustrations for anyone who has a copy of that.
Okay.
And we finally got the chance here. She could do cover art, and she's already really familiar with 10,000 Dawns and the characters and settings. So it's just a good way to get all of that to come together finally.
Excellent. And so tell us about 10,000 Dawns, the overarching story and world of that, and how the short stories are going to fit in.
So if you aren't familiar, 10,000 Dawns is a sci-fi setting in the future, about 500 years forwards, that deals with alternate realities a lot. And so these stories follow side stories from the main characters of the first 10,000 Dawns novel.
Okay. Excellent.
And so some of them feature characters people really liked who were just kind of side characters in the book and who it gives them, a more fleshed out backstory. Some of them are stories that take place after the first book and will be kind of set between that first one and the second novel whenever that gets done.
Right.
And so they've been, kind of carefully made to link up to where that novel's gonna start once it does finally start coming out.
Okay.
So you get to, if you like the first book, then it has all these characters and you get to explore them more. And if you haven't read the first book, then the stories are still all meant to be, able to be comprehended on their own.
Excellent. Okay. Excellent. So you're set and ready for that one.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, have you gotten those all written, or are you in the process of...
So for all the books, I'm going to add a little bit to them, but all three of them are basically written.
Okay.
But it is a chance just to add one or two little things, but the big chunk of all the stories is done.
Excellent. And so the next step is book 2. The goal is $1,000, so you only have about $400 more.
Yeah.
I guess you have exactly $400 more. That's how math works.
Yes.
So you're looking at fantasy. It's Fantasy Legends and Layers is what the title.
Legends and Liars.
Yeah. If you flip those letters, then it's yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Definitely. Let's talk about that a little more. Let's start with the cover art and your cover artist. Who are you working with there?
Okay. So now I'm hoping I get her name right. So Anne-Laure Tudori is an artist from France.
Okay.
And I met her through, of all things, a Doctor Who fan Discord.
Okay. Sure.
And she does a lot of amazing Doctor Who fan art, and that's kind of how I discovered it. But she's actually studying animation at French animation school. She's working on this amazing short film right now. If you look at a lot of her social media, she's posting up little clips of what they're working on with that. And so we've kind of just wanted to work together as well, of just like Ringu. And I'm really excited to get to work with someone with a very different kind of background to a lot of the other artists I've worked with, because I work with a lot of artists. I try to one thing I've really tried to do is give a lot of artists who I love the work of a chance at getting paid work out there with my book covers and illustration.
Yeah, promote what you like. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And she's young, she's still in school, but I think she's a really promising up and coming talent, and I hope that she gets this chance to have her name on a project like this. She can put on her CV just as much as I want her beautiful art to be on my book cover.
Absolutely. So since Legends and Liars isn't set within a framework like 10,000 Dawns is, tell us a little bit about I don't know, the Stranger in the Whole City, Stranger in the White City. Reading is hard for me today, I guess. Stranger in the White City. Just give us a brief overview of what that story is about.
So Stranger in the White City came from me reading a lot about H.H. Holmes and the Chicago World's Fair.
And this is in the fantasy book, right?
Yes, this is in the fantasy book. And this story has our protagonist gets thrown magically into the past where this fair is happening, and he discovers that someone he meets at the World's Fair is going to be killed by H.H. Holmes.
Okay.
And as you know, this is in the fantasy book. It's not in the horror book.
Right.
And so I won't give it away, but there's something else going on there.
Excellent. Okay. So we're going to see a bunch of stories. Do you know how many stories in each book you're going to have? I mean, you've already got it written, so you obviously do, but off the top of your head.
No.
Okay, that's all right.
I wish I'd written this down.
No, it's okay. It's okay. And then let's go ahead and move on to the third book. The third book is your horror book, Domestic Demons.
Yes.
I read that one correctly this time. Tell us, let's start again with the cover art. Tell us about what you got going on there.
Okay, so I met Luis on, Louis, I've never actually said their names out loud.
Yeah.
So Louis, I think I met him on the same Doctor Who fan Discord I met Lyria on. And he is this amazing artist from Mexico. He lives in LA now. And he does just really, really crazy horror art. Some of it I couldn't actually put on a book cover, but
right.
But he has a real talent for drawing monsters.
Yeah, this thing,
yeah,
this heart pokey thing that you have kind of featured here on the Kickstarter is unsettling a little bit. Which that's exactly what you want it to be. So that's excellent. So it's He lives in LA. Has he been doing this very long?
Just like Larry, he's still pretty young. Rain is actually the oldest of the artists working on this. Both of them are in their early 20s, I think.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Excellent. So you're going to be doing this book of horror. Tell us a little bit about McMansion Hell. I want to know about McMansion Hell.
Okay, so this one actually, now that I think about it, the stories aren't linked, but Domestic Demons, the stories definitely have a stronger theme running through them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
In that I really have been obsessed in my horror stories with dealing with, domestic demons. Dealing with horrors that happen a little too close to home.
Okay.
McMansion Hell is probably everyone's favorite story that I've written, either that or Prescription, and it is set with some people who buy a McMansion. And I've been a little fascinated with McMansions, which are those mansions people build where they just have a lot of money and way too much land, and you build this giant mansion out of prefab structures, but it's not built to be aesthetically pleasing. It's built to be as big and expansive as possible. So growing up in Elkhart, Indiana, a lot of people had McMansions.
Yeah.
And a lot of those McMansions just made no sense when you walk through them. There's one thing in the story which is based on a real thing from someone's house who I visited growing up, where there was just a toilet in the middle of a room or in between some cabinets, and you couldn't really use the toilet because the room was basically a room meant for recreation. and the people who had the house didn't even know what to do with it. But like when they were building it, they were just so into like, just we're going to put that there and that there. And we can have one of these that like, yeah, this room can have a toilet in it. And then what do you do with it now that you just threw it on this room and there's not a place for it? So this story takes that weirdness and jacks it up into the real strange supernatural feeling that it deserves from walking through one of those houses.
Excellent. When I think about big mansions, I always think of Arrested Development, because that's kind of what they were gonna eventually build.
Yeah.
So you've got 3 books. You've got 1 funded.
Yes.
And on the way to, I mean, you've been up for 2 weeks, just at 2 weeks. Just over 2 weeks.
Yeah, over 2 weeks, because we've got less than 10 days left.
Yeah, you've got 8 days left.
Yeah.
So this will be over on the 25th. This is pretty simple. If you want one of the books on ebook, it's $5.
Mm-hmm.
If you want all of the books on ebook, it's $15. 22 will get you one of the books in print and ebook, and then 65 will get you all 3. And then there are some higher levels as well to kind of round out some other options that can get done. You've done Kickstarters before, so this isn't old hat, but you're not going to get, other than printers closing.
Yeah,
you're not going to get caught off guard by much. You know what to expect.
Yeah,
here.
this is I think it's my 8th Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, don't quote me on that, but I think I've done a lot of them at this point. Been and gotten pretty familiar with what can go wrong.
Absolutely.
So I'm pretty, and I'm confident I'll be able to fulfill everything. Really the worst thing that will probably happen if anything goes wrong is just a delay. And I think people are pretty used to those happening with Kickstarters at this point.
And you do have a lot of other options to add extras on to pledges to get other books that you've already written.
Mm-hmm.
If people have missed your previous Kickstarters or just haven't picked them up yet, they can help out here by supporting that.
Yes.
I think this is great. Is there anything that we haven't touched on here that you wanted to hit real quick before we move on? Anything that I missed out on?
I guess I'll just note that, hey, remember those posters I talked about at the beginning?
Yeah.
So because we're going to get those printed hopefully pretty soon, we decided to add on the option that you can get those added to this Kickstarter if you want them.
Excellent.
So they're there as another add-on along with the books. Yeah.
Cool. No, that's great. Is there anywhere that we're going to see you in the next couple of months for convention-wise? Anywhere you're going to have a table or anything?
The only convention I have currently lined up is I'll be at Wholanta down in Atlanta, Georgia at the start of May, first weekend of that.
Okay.
And that'll be a lot of fun, but taking it pretty light with conventions this year, until I start feeling better.
No, I absolutely understand that. So we can find you on Twitter at Arc Beatle, Facebook.com/Arc Beatle Press, and then your website is James Wylder. That's with a Y.
Yes.
.com. I'll have a link in the show notes directly to the Kickstarter for that. If not, if you guys just want to go search for it, it's just look for James Wylder. You're on there. That's your user, and then it'll be the first one that pops up. That's kind of how I found it today when I was looking for it. So excellent. This all looks great. I'm looking forward to it. I am going to go ahead and grab probably all 3 of the ebooks because, I mean, why not?
Yeah,
all 3, right? Definitely check this out. I mean, you are, from what I have experienced of your writing, a very good author.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know that I've experienced any of your horror necessarily, but it's just a translation of one of more feelings, different feelings into what you're writing.
Yeah, it was a surprise being good at horror.
Yeah,
I wasn't actually, horror wasn't something I was really familiar with until my girlfriend Rebecca, she really loves horror, so she encouraged me to read some, and I tried my hand at writing it, and it turned out I had more of a knack for it than I thought. So,
excellent.
Yeah,
excellent. Well, definitely want to check this out. Otherwise, you guys have just about a week before it's up, so definitely want to get over there and check that out. And we will talk to you guys next week.
And that'll do us tonight for Go Fund This, a podcast from Nerds Domain. Remember, you can email us at nerdsdomain@gmail.com or find us on facebook.com/nerdsdomain, on Twitter @nerdsdomain, or over at our site at nerdsdom.com. Be sure to sign up for the newsletter while you're there. You can head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. We want to thank Jarby McCoy for our music. Don't forget, you can support us at patreon.com/nerdsdomain and check out our shirts at slashloot.com.